The sun rises over an Iowan cornfield, casting a golden glow across endless rows of corn. The morning light reveals a landscape that has long been the backbone of America's agricultural might. But today, the usual bustle is missing. The familiar sounds of engines and workers are replaced by a quiet stillness, as if the land itself is holding its breath. Trucks roll out from the silos, but they're only half full. Drivers exchange uneasy glances, knowing their grain is now destined for domestic mills rather than the global ports that once promised prosperity. The sense of uncertainty is palpable. The heartland's rhythm, once the steady pulse of world food markets, has slowed to a cautious beat. Idle tractors and slow-moving machinery hint at a deeper shift beneath the surface. Meanwhile, across the border, the port of Vancouver is alive with activity. Canadian grain, canola, lentils, wheat, moves briskly onto ships bound for Asia and Europe, filling the air with the energy of opportunity. Canadian exports are booming, their ports are expanding, their farmers walk their fields with confidence, and new infrastructure rises to meet growing demand. This isn't a sudden takeover, but a steady strategic advance, years in the making. Investments in technology, logistics, and trade have quietly shifted the balance. America's agricultural dominance is quietly slipping, not to a distant rival but to its northern neighbor. The border, once a line of friendly competition, now marks a changing of the guard. The world's food map is being redrawn. Vancouver replaces New Orleans on shipping manifests, and Ottawa signs new trade deals that open doors once closed to American grain. In Midwest diners, over steaming mugs of coffee, farmers quietly wonder if the golden age of American exports is ending. Their conversations are filled with concern, hope, and a search for answers. This shift is more than numbers on a spreadsheet. It's a fundamental change in the flow of food, happening almost unnoticed by the wider world. The implications ripple through every part of our food system, from the farm to the supermarket shelf, affecting prices, jobs, and the future of rural communities. It's not about grand speeches or headlines, but about the quiet logistics of daily commerce, the paperwork, the loading docks, the early morning truck runs. The story is told in the empty silos of the Midwest, the packed Canadian docks, and the anxious conversations echoing in rural American cafes. The world is watching these changes unfold, even if most Americans are not. The quiet shift at the border is reshaping the future of food, one shipment at a time. The data is clear. When it comes to agricultural exports, the numbers don't lie, and the story they tell is one of dramatic change. Over the past 2 years, American agricultural exports have dropped nearly 20%. This isn't just a minor dip, it's a significant decline that's sending shockwaves through rural communities and the global marketplace alike. Corn, soybeans, and wheat, America's staple crops, have all seen double-digit drops in export volume. Billions of dollars are being lost, and with every shipment missed, the U.S. is ceding more of its once dominant market share to competitors. Meanwhile, north of the border, Canada's agricultural exports have surged by over 15%. Crops like canola, lentils, and wheat are leading this impressive growth, and Canadian farmers are seizing new opportunities on the world stage. Canadian canola now fills supermarket shelves and restaurant kitchens across Asia, markets that until recently were dominated by American soy. The shift is visible not just in trade data, but in everyday products found around the globe. In the European Union, American imports have fallen sharply, the result of ongoing trade disputes and stricter regulations. Canada, with its new trade agreements and reputation for quality, has stepped in to fill the gap, becoming a preferred supplier. In Southeast Asia, buyers openly praise Canada's reliability and the consistent quality of its crops. Many are now shifting their long-term contracts away from U.S. suppliers, forging new partnerships with Canadian exporters. The global food map is being redrawn before our eyes. New trade routes now bypass American ports, with ships sailing directly from Canada to Asia and Europe, reshaping the flow of agricultural goods worldwide. This shift isn't just about crops or commodities, it's about trust, reliability, and the building of long-term relationships between nations and businesses. Volatility in U.S. supply chains, from unpredictable weather to policy changes, has made Canada the preferred partner for many international buyers seeking stability and certainty. The numbers tell a simple, undeniable story. America's export engine is sputtering, while Canada's is thriving and gaining momentum with each passing month. The question now isn't whether this shift is happening, but just how deep and lasting it will be. American farmers and policymakers are left wondering what it will take to regain lost ground. Around the world, buyers are making new bets, investing in Canadian supply chains, and leaving behind the old certainty that America was always the safest choice. The consequences of this global realignment are just beginning to unfold, and the full impact will be felt for years to come. America's export decline is no accident. It's the result of a perfect storm. Three forces converge: volatile climate, disruptive trade policies, and shifting global demand. Droughts and floods batter the Midwest and California, slashing yields and shaking buyer confidence. Trade wars, especially with China, forced buyers to find new suppliers, relationships that now stick. Global demand is changing, with buyers seeking sustainable non-GMO and plant-based foods. Canada has adapted quickly, dominating the pulse market and offering what buyers want. America's focus on bulk corn and soy has made it less agile, missing new opportunities. The world's appetite is evolving, and America is struggling to keep up. The result, a shrinking breadbasket and a growing gap. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It's a daily crisis for American farmers. Flash droughts scorch the Midwest, floods drown the Delta, and yields plummet. Export reliability, once America's strength, is now in question. Meanwhile, Canada's prairies are benefiting from longer growing seasons and proactive climate adaptation. Investments in research and water management help Canadian farmers stay ahead. While U.S. farmers scramble to survive, Canadians are expanding into new crops and markets. The weather is now a key player in global trade, and Canada is winning the climate race. Stability is the new currency, and America is running short. American farms became collateral damage in global trade wars, caught in the crossfire of decisions made far from their fields. Once thriving landscapes, these farms now tell a story of uncertainty and loss. When tariffs on China were imposed, the response was swift and punishing. China, once the largest buyer of American soybeans, retaliated with tariffs of its own. Soybean markets collapsed almost overnight, prices plummeted, and mountains of unsold grain began to fill silos across the Midwest. Government subsidies arrived, but for many farmers, they were a band-aid on a much deeper wound. The loss of long-standing contracts and the erosion of trust with international buyers proved far more difficult to repair than any financial shortfall. International buyers, wary of future disruptions, quickly diversified their sources. They built new supply chains in Brazil, Argentina, and especially Canada, ensuring they would never be so dependent on a single supplier again. Canada seized the moment, signing major trade deals with Asia and Europe. These agreements positioned Canada as a stable, reliable partner, eager to fill the gap left by the U.S. Today, Canadian farmers enjoy direct access to global markets, shipping their grain to buyers around the world. Meanwhile, American farmers face tariffs, closed doors, and a future clouded by uncertainty. The U.S. lost more than just sales, it lost its reputation as a dependable supplier. International buyers, once loyal, now look elsewhere, wary of political risk. Geopolitical choices made in Washington created a vacuum in the global marketplace, one that Canada was quick to fill, stepping confidently onto the world stage. Now the fate of the harvest depends as much on international diplomacy and trade policy as it does on the weather. Farmers must watch both the skies and the headlines. For years, Canada has quietly outmaneuvered America in the global marketplace, building relationships and trust that pay dividends at every harvest. The result is a permanent shift in who feeds the world. Canada's rise as a global food exporter is no accident, it's the outcome of strategic choices and open doors. The lesson is clear. Trust, once lost, is hard to regain. Contracts can be rewritten, but relationships take years to rebuild. America's trade wars have left its fields emptier than ever, a stark reminder that in global agriculture, every decision echoes far beyond the farm gate. Canada's agricultural rise is no accident, it's a national strategy. Ottawa made exports a priority, securing trade deals and investing in research. New crop varieties are tailored for global buyers, from health-focused canola to high-protein wheat. Logistics have been modernized, moving grain faster and more efficiently. Canada's diverse crops, lentils, chickpeas, peas, meet the booming demand for plant-based protein. Product of Canada now signals quality and sustainability, a powerful global brand. Canadian farmers are agile, innovative, and supported by strong policy. While America clings to old models, Canada is capturing new markets. The result, a quiet, methodical takeover of the world's food supply. Falling exports hit rural America hard. Every lost contract means a farmer struggling to pay bills, a family selling land, a town losing its lifeblood. Rising costs and stagnant prices push small farms to the brink, triggering a domino effect across rural economies. Main streets empty, businesses close, and young people leave for cities. The mental toll is severe, farming is identity, and its loss breeds despair. Meanwhile, Canadian rural towns are thriving with new jobs, investment, and optimism. Grain facilities expand, transportation jobs grow, and young people return. The contrast is stark. American heartland in decline, Canadian prairies on the rise. These trends aren't just economic, they're reshaping lives and communities. The future of the heartland hangs in the balance. The farm export crisis will reach your dinner table. Surplus grain may mean lower prices now, but instability leads to higher, more volatile food costs long-term. As small farms disappear, big corporations take over, narrowing crop diversity and increasing market control. Fewer players mean less competition and higher prices for consumers. America could become more dependent on imports, even for foods we once grew ourselves. Food security and variety are at risk, and innovation suffers as struggling farmers cut costs. The vibrant, diverse food system we value could fade, replaced by a less resilient, less sustainable one. The choices made in the heartland will shape what's on your plate. America can reclaim its agricultural leadership, but it won't be easy. First, stabilize trade. Pursue multilateral agreements and rebuild trust with global buyers. Invest in climate resilience, drought-resistant crops, modern irrigation, and sustainable practices. Diversify beyond corn and soy, support new markets like plant-based proteins and specialty crops. Strengthen local food systems to foster innovation and stability. A strong farm sector is vital for national security, rural vitality, and affordable food. The quiet collapse of exports is a warning. Now is the time to act. With smart trade, innovation, and diversity, America's heartland can thrive again.